In an ideal world, of course, we will want both Yanagi and Burnice, but this is your bank calling you and speaking to you. You can only afford one of them, and the question is, which one do you choose? Which is the better investment value for the longer term? And that's what this video aims to talk about. As with all of our better investment videos, we should do every patch. I promise you, I'll be super logical, unbiased, just comparing apple to apple logic for both of them. And only at the end of the video, if you want my own personal biased thoughts, you can check it out at the end. I'll leave it right at the end for those of you who want any of that. But of course, let's start off first with current value of characters. We always like to talk about current value because if you are spending your premium resource, your money that you're topping up in a game or whatever not, you want to know exactly what these characters give you right now so that you can get your money's worth straight away and not like have to wait for 100 days time or something like that, right? Between both of them, one is more offensive DPS character that can be played as a main DPS. So if you are looking for a damage dealer to carry your account in the electric element, for example, you're looking to beef up the aspect, Yanagi is way stronger. We have already put out some videos on the channel of Yanagi. If you're interested in more content on her, because it's still now in early access, you can check it out on the channel if you're interested. But Yanagi is definitely more solid for on-field DPS. Especially if you're looking for that sorts. Maybe you're a newer player, you don't have Ellen, you don't have Zhu Yuan, you don't have Jane Doe. In this sense, Yanagi is definitely a good substitute for a lot of these characters that we are starting to see as well. Burnice, on the other hand, fulfills a very different niche altogether. She's not as prominent on field as a main DPS dealer. She's more of like a second DPS dealer where she works off field, which is very rare in this game currently. So that is the two different types. Burnice, you still need someone carrying your account, but she's of a little bit rarer status because you don't have too many sub DPSs. Sub DPSs are basically characters that offer you a lot of damage outside of the main DPS and taking like field time. So Burnice is one of those characters. That's in terms of like current value and the broad landscape of what you're looking for. The truth is, both of them, their main teams do involve each other in them. Of course, Burnice can function in mono fire teams without Yanagi. Yanagi can of course function in mono electric teams without Burnice, as we talked about on the channel as well. They don't necessarily need each other, so don't be too worried about that. But in terms of broadness, I would say Burnice is more independent performing without Yanagi. Yanagi does want Burnice to a large extent, especially if you want her to start popping off at the higher levels because of the rare burn that Burnice procs, as well as the extension of burn that Burnice offers. So between two of them, I think in this category, current value, I will give it to Burnice for the general public. If you have been playing for a while, you have Jane Doe, you have Zhu Yuan, you have Ellen and stuff like that, Burnice probably ages out in terms of the number of teams that she fulfills. Yanagi, on the other hand, is more excellent if you are a newer player joining the game. Perhaps you just join the game because you're upcoming, waiting for new characters. You like Yanagi's design and stuff like that. Yanagi offers you a lot more value if you're a relatively newer player without established teams. Burnice offers you a bit more longer term potential and great for like players who have been playing for a little bit of a while as well. So two characters, current value, Burnice in my opinion ages out slightly ahead. But of course, by now you guys realize it's not just enough to talk about current value and what they add to your account. We also must factor in alternatives. Why is this important? If you already have a Nike shoe, there might not be an urgent need to like buy a Adidas shoe straight away because you already have one pair of shoes. Maybe you like collecting waifus, collecting shoes, or whatever not. But in the alternatives category, it's telling you what you exactly need for your account. Between the two of them, who has more alternatives? Very clear. I think the alternatives that is slightly more is Yanagi. She competes, if you're talking about electric coverage, because she can be played as an on-field electric DPS. In that sense, you will be competing with characters like Anton, who thankfully is an A rank, so she is a direct upgrade in a sense to Anton in a lot of sense. If you're looking for a normally electric character, you do have another one in the game already, Grace. Granted, you do need to have a little bit of RNG luck or get that 300 pulls. Some of us might not be nearing that 300 pulls, especially if you're a newer player or a total free-to-play player. So that is one huge caveat as well. This is a standard electric character, but it's of the same anomaly typing as Yanagi. Burnice, on the other hand, if you're looking for that anomaly fire in Burnice, there are none at the moment that offer you that. If you're looking for some sort of off-field damage dealer that can help you do damage off-field, maybe to some extent you have Lucy, but they are very different roles altogether, and you could argue that they both can be played on the same team with even a character like Soldier 11 and stuff like that. So I would say in terms of comparison, Burnice is much few and far between. Even characters like Jane Doe, like Piper, they offer a totally different setup compared to Burnice. Burnice is also unique because she extends the duration of burn as well. So if you're talking about extension, maybe Rena, who extends a bit of shock, but in my opinion, Burnice comes out ahead as well in terms of alternatives. There are not too many alternatives like Burnice in the game. She's very unique currently in the game state, which offers you that sub DPS potential. Definitely very valuable, very valuable to consider. Yanagi, on the other hand, she is a much better, in my opinion, of Anton and Grace in her overall kit. But if you're just looking for elemental coverage, there are a few options. And what if, like, future some other thing changes, which we'll talk about in this section right here, which is the future value section. So Burnice again comes ahead and currently in the game state, but more importantly, and this is where tables start to turn, is when we look at the future, where I think Yanagi starts to shine a little bit brighter and is very attractive. So future value is important, not only because you want to know how your characters that you pull do. If you are spending this amount of resource, you want to know that you get good value, right? That's what investment is all about. You want to see an uptrend and not like a downwards trend for characters. Generally, both of them have positive outlook because Anomaly is still teams that are building, and at the same time Yanagi plays into a lot of other thematics, for example like mono electric, which we still do not have like a dedicated mono electric DPS yet, and for example Burnice and Yanagi both have supportive kits in nature. Yanagi buffs disorder damage, Burnice offers a lot of like sub DPS on the side and whatever not that Burnice already does on her own. So great uptrend on these two. Yanagi, between both of them, is slightly more DPS-y, so you can argue in terms of like power creep potential when numbers just get bigger and bigger. In that sense, Yanagi does fall off slightly if you want to talk about support versus DPS kind of nature. But let's put that aside for now. What I think is most attractive about Yanagi and Burnice, both of these two characters benefit from more anomaly characters that are coming into the game. When you have Ice Anomaly, for example, Aether Anomaly, you have more physical anomaly characters. All of these characters generally will work well with both of these two units. And the more characters that you have, the better team compositions. Right now, if you look at the anomaly class, you have practically 5 anomaly characters. And out of these 5, 3 of them are limited. One of them is a standard S rank, and you only have like one Piper who is an A rank, and it's not even like free for everyone to get. So as time goes on, these characters will outplay a little bit more because currently the meta is like dual anomaly, and it's quite expensive at this point of time because they were like more or less back to back, a lot of them very expensive for our wallets. So as time goes on, you have more resources, you pull more, very good for these kind of team compositions. The question then is, can any of them survive outside of for example, anomaly-based teams? Because what happens if the meta shifts? Like now, anomaly is like super popular. But what if we shift back into like crit DPSs, for example, like Zhu Yuan and Ellen? In that case, Yanagi could be interesting as well because she offers you great amounts of solo electric potential too. You might not get to maximize the disorder buff that she does, but she can still buff herself in terms of damage, so it's not too bad. She plays very nicely into mono teams as well. Burnice is also great for mono fire because she helps you keep up that burn up time, especially with comboing with the fire set to give you a massive amount of crit rate. That's why she works so well with like DPS like Soldier 11. So these two characters offer some sort of scalability with time. The main biggest potential that I think Yanagi has as an upside is she is currently looking for an EX special attack buffer in the game. If you look at all the supports in the game, none of them are dedicated energy batteries for them. You have some energy battery in like some W engines here and there that give you a bit of energy, extra energy and stuff. Supports generally have some of that in like even some of the gear that they can equip, but none of them are specifically, I am going to buff you this much energy, give you more energy. And the character that needs a lot of energy and drinks energy like crazy is actually Yanagi out of all of them. This is where I see tons of potential for Yanagi, because if you have an energy battery, like maybe we don't even have an S rank limited support yet, right? But if that comes to the game, an EX special attack buffer, Yanagi's stonks are rising because she can be then played as an off-field, just an on-field quick burst, doing tons of damage with her EX. So she like zap with tons of her special disorder and then switch off-field. Being a very low field time character, similar to likes of Grace, similar to, not as close as Burnice, who is like mainly off-field, but she takes up super less field time in that case once that support comes out. So that is a huge upside for Yanagi, which I think is not factored in. Burnice, on the other hand, is already more or less there. She might perform better with more anomaly characters coming into the game, but she already works very fine as it is. I think between both of them, Yanagi has a lot more potential to outperform, but if you're talking about like power creep, supports in general tend to outlive a little bit longer because of generally how the game is. It's better to sell you a flashy on-field DPS. So I'll give it, this category is close, but I'll give it to Yanagi overall for future value in terms of looking a little bit brighter. But both of them come really close in different categories as we talked about. Now, next up is also something in the future, but this, instead of looking at the game state, we are turning our lenses and looking directly at the developer instead. In this case, Hoyoverse. What does Hoyoverse normally tend to do? We've been playing their games for 4 to 5 years now, and there are certain trends that are very obvious. Right now, they're pushing out an anomaly agenda, which is like back to back, right? You have Jane Doe, and then you have Burnice, you have Yanagi, and other characters that are coming out. Who knows? Is Miyabi going to be Ice Anomaly? At this point, no official information is out, so no one knows at this point. But if they continue down the anomaly path, both of these characters are likely going to be benefiting from it. If there are new anomaly type units, both of them tremendously benefit. So it's huge upside for both of them. In my opinion, the one that slightly outperforms if more anomaly comes about is probably Burnice, because only a set amount of characters can be on field at a time. Burnice thrives off field. Most of her kit is based off field anyway, other than the fact that she needs to charge up her energy bar. If that's the case, the team compositions that Burnice likely will perform in is way more than a character who wants a little bit of field time, because you cannibalize the on-screen, on-field time like a character like Yanagi. So Burnice, in that sense, if more anomaly come in the game, she likely is going to outperform a little bit. Yanagi is in a relatively more crowded space, similar to Jane Doe on field and stuff like that. But ultimately, Sons of Caledon's team compositions are already all out. But one of the biggest upside for Yanagi is her team compositions. The official information for team compositions is not out yet. The big catalyst for her is, for example, a character like Miyabi, or as well as the other male character. I can't exactly remember his name. Is it like Haramusa, something like that? Which is also going to be potentially very, very good synergy with Yanagi. So there's like some near-term upside potential as well. Longer term potential, I think, is the excuse me, my throat is like choking from the potential that is on with these characters. But in the future upside, what is there going to be good is Electric currently is not very, very involved in the game right now, and Hoyoverse always wants to rotate the teams around to make sure that every element has its day. And so far, if you realize, Electric isn't super popular. So when we have more Electric DPSs entering the game, like a crit Electric DPS, you can expect that the flaws of whatever we are fighting like Shiri defense will turn to an electric benefit, and Yanagi will directly benefit from this in the short to medium term too. So that's like some huge upside that we can see in terms of the potential section. I think between both of them, I would give it a little bit more to Yanagi because of the near-term trends of a new section being released, which directly feeds into potential synergies that Hoyoverse might implement as well. And last but not least, of course, is the free-to-play potential kit. Now, which of these characters are great? Both of them are quite good already at free-to-play potential, because there are many good W engines for free-to-play characters that are in the anomaly class. We talked about it in the Burnice guide videos and Yanagi guide video that is going to come out once all the numbers are finalized. We did this video, if you notice, normally it's like after live stream we do this, but I wanted to wait a while for some changes to finalize as well. So because characters that do DPS, you need to know like once all the changes settled, because it makes a difference if their numbers are like 100 versus 10, right? Especially for damage dealing characters like Yanagi. Between both of them, I think that Burnice is slightly cheaper to build because she is more of a supportive unit. You can build her very easily for attack and stuff. Yanagi does need a little bit more stats as well because she wants to play a lot for damage, but you have a lot of free-to-play options as well. DPS characters that are meant mostly for DPS tend to be a bit more expensive, but free-to-play character, I mean, anomaly characters in general are probably one of the more cheaper options so far because of just the amazing free-to-play cast. So Yanagi, in my opinion, wins in the free-to-play potential category. And last but not least, of course, now that we've talked about all 5 categories, let's talk about my personal bias. And this is right at the end of the video. And if you so far like what you are seeing, you like our unbiased thoughts, do give me a like, comment, and subscribe for more of such future content. We do this every single patch to help us make a better decision. Now, overall, my personal gut feel, I touch my heart and tell you, Yanagi looks really amazing. Burnice, her design is like probably top tier. But between the two of them, the one that is feeling like a smarter choice right now to go for the long run is probably going to be Burnice. Off-field DPS characters in turn-based or like real-time combat games where you can have only one character on the field. Off-field characters go a much longer way and they are a little bit more rarer because it's much more easier to sell you the new on-field flashy DPS that does a ton of damage. Yanagi seems to be that sort, and if you want to bring her off-field, you do need a special requirement to have more energy funnelers in the team, which is a little bit restrictive in nature. It is possible, but at the current moment, I think it's the path of least resistance. It's a much safer recommendation for me to go with Burnice first. But if you're a newer player and you still need that DPS character, Yanagi is a really, really solid addition to your roster. So that is my personal thoughts. If you guys found this video helpful, like, comment, subscribe. At this point, I highly recommend you check out these 2 other videos we have on the channel, which I think you might like. And thank you guys again so much for watching. See you in the next video.